It's wonderful to be given a position and a title. It's a great start. It shows someone has faith in you, someone has confidence in you, enough to give you the opportunity to lead. But we must not end with positional leadership. We must desire to transcend to influential leadership, because that's where the real power is. To the degree you can influence people is the degree to which you can lead them. Now, I remember in January 2020, gosh, that seems so long ago now, and obviously this was before COVID hit. I had a week's leadership training in London for about 17 leaders. The delegates actually flew into the UK for the training. And I remember the second day, the lady who was taking care of us came to me and said, where are your delegates from? And I told her, and I said, why are you asking? And she said, oh, because she noticed they didn't seem to be enjoying the food. And it was kind of obvious because they had to take most of it back into the kitchen. And we left it at that. I didn't make any demands. She didn't make any suggestions. But the next day, they served for lunch jollof rice. Now, this is a traditional meal from the country my delegates are from. You can Google it. If you Google it, you will know the country my delegates came from. Now, that experience is stayed with me ever since then, because it really struck me. It really struck me because I thought, this is great leadership here. Now, the person who was taking care of us wasn't a supervisor, she wasn't a manager, so in quotes, she wasn't a leader. But what she did was she changed the order of things for the better. That is leadership. If you ask any hotel, they'll probably tell you one of their values, written or unwritten, is they want to make their guests feel at home away from home. And this lady saw that my delegates were not quite feeling at home away from home. Now, I don't know, she may have gone and spoken to her supervisor or her manager, but the point is, she saw that there was a situation here and she determined to do something about it. And she changed the order of things, like I say, for the better. But it wasn't just about what the lady who was taking care of us did. What that experience said to me about the leadership of the establishment as well is that there's great leadership here. Because she could have said, well, this is my job, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is how we do it, and that's the end of it. But there must have been something in the culture of the organization that made her think outside of the box to achieve what the hotel would have wanted to achieve, which is to make their guests feel at home away from home. So yes, we need procedures, yes, we need systems, yes, we need the office manual, but your people have to know the spirit of your organization. And as a leader, it's one of your duties to make sure they catch that vision, so they can, when the need arises, do what they need to do to achieve the objectives of the organization without you being there to give them direction. That is leadership. That's what when we talk about influential leadership, that's what we're talking about. And if they hadn't changed anything, we wouldn't have complained, we wouldn't have complained. But what they did just made the experience just a little bit more special for me and for my delegates. And guess what? If I ever have to go to London to book a hotel for training, I'm going to go back to that hotel, because they showed us that they cared, we mattered, and we were of value to them. So as leaders, that's what you do. With title, without title, you lead. You change the status quo and you change the order of things for the better. Now, before I started this journey as a speaker, trainer, and coach, in my other life, as I sometimes like to refer to it, I'm a solicitor. So I've been in the legal profession for over 30 years, and for over 15 years, I was running my own law practice. And one of the first things they taught us in law school was, as a solicitor, as a lawyer, you're not expected to have all the answers. You just need to know where to go to get the answers. And I want to say to you leaders, it's exactly the same with you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, so take that pressure off. You know you don't have all the answers. Those you lead know you don't have all the answers. So let's get it over with. We don't have all the answers. But I bet within your teams, you've got the answers. Your people have the answers. So my question to you is, do you have a structure, a procedure in place whereby you glean from the minds of your people? Do you have a system in place that you're able to get feedback and suggestions from your people regularly? I remember recently I was asked to give a talk on leading through crisis. And one of the things I was talking about was how, as leaders, in times of crisis or change, we're so hung up trying to solve the problem, trying to solve the issues, we forget to take our people along with us. Let your people know what's going on. Number one, what that will do is it will give them buy-in. It will show them that you see them as a part of the company, the organization, the business, the charity, whatever it is. It will show them that you value their opinion. But the other thing it will do, you will be surprised to find, is it will come up with options for you. And as I shared that day, one of the leaders at the end said, I totally can identify with what you just said. He said, because I lead a not-for-profit organization, and as you can imagine, with COVID and everything, we've had serious financial difficulties, and he was trying to come up with ideas on how to solve this problem, and he decided to share it with his team. And he said, I was amazed at the ideas that they came out with. So that person in your team that is an accountant is more than an accountant. They trained as an accountant. Yes, that is their position, that is their title, but there is more to that person than figures. So learn to take your team along. Teamwork really does make the dream work. Now let's talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion. That's part of what I've been asked to talk about. When you think about diversity and inclusion, what comes to mind? For most people, what comes to mind is race, gender, sexuality, age, and yes, all of those things matter. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it includes all of that. But diversity and inclusion goes far beyond just the protected classes. Yes, at some stage, Parliament decided, well, we need to protect these classes, religion and age and sex and sexual orientation and gender and all of that. We need to protect certain classes so they don't get discriminated against. But when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we're not just limited to those protected classes. We're talking about everybody. We're talking about, learning styles. We're talking about different personality styles. We're talking about different backgrounds, different experiences. That's what diversity is about. And inclusion is different. I mean, even though diversity and inclusion is often used in tandem, they're quite different. Diversity talks about the scope or the varied types of people you have in your organization, if we're talking about workplace diversity. But inclusion talks about the systems you have in place, the culture within the organization that allows everyone to participate and gives everyone equal opportunity to grow, equal opportunity to advance, empower everyone, give them a voice. That's what inclusion is about. So somebody said diversity is inviting everyone to the party. Inclusion is inviting everyone to dance. Because you could be in a party and some people could be having a great time having a dance, while others are just sat on the side. Now, this is something I'm extremely passionate about, because I really do believe that if we're going to keep growing and innovating, we need diversity of thought. And diversity of thought can only be achieved through diversity of representation. So to finish off today, I just want to remind you that you are all leaders. We're all leaders to some degree. If leadership is influence, because we all influence. The only question is, who are we influencing and how are we influencing? How do you influence in the cloakroom? How do you influence in the dining room? How do you influence when you're having that one-to-one conversation with a colleague? Are you a thermometer or a thermostat? Do you choose to set the tone for the conversation, or do you just go with the flow? The choice is yours. But every single one of us can make a difference. We're all significant, and when we know better, the onus is on us to do better.